7-0 was the vote last night in Olathe. Move ahead with the Chiefs practice facility, college, and Ridgeview. And not really moving ahead with the project. That was already done. The question was whether or not Olathe would opt in to kick in future sales tax revenues to pay off the project. And the answer last night was yes. This was always optional. Now remember, when this deal first came down before Christmas, and we found out that cities would be allowed to opt in. And at the time, you had local leaders being like, it's optional. Don't worry. It's not a guaranteed done deal, slam dunk. Last night, you had a standing room only Olathe City Council meeting. The overwhelming majority of people speaking out against using future sales tax monies to pay off the practice facility. Young, old, liberal, conservative. I mean, it was across the board. And you had a handful of people, a small handful of people, who spoke out in support of the deal. They were seemingly friends of the city council. They were maybe union members who are going to, get some work out of this deal. And then you even had a spouse of a sitting city council member get up there and start basically talking down to residents who are against this. So I started recording some of this on my phone when I realized where it was going. I didn't have the best stuff, but Mark, you were there in the audience, right? You heard this guy, Jim Felter, and I'll play the audio coming up here in a second. And I know that you and I feel differently about this. You're all excited. But let's be honest, that was cringy, was it not?
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize he was related, but it was cringy even without that. So it's even more so now.
Even without it, it was cringy. So think about this. This guy, Jim Felter, AAG Development, he's a developer that does a lot of work in Olathe. His wife, Lietta, is on the city council. He applies for jobs and gets development gigs that need to be approved through the city, where his wife is sitting on the city council. If that doesn't stink to high heaven, I don't care what you think of this deal. I don't care what you think of the Chiefs. When one of the people, and it was only one of a handful, speaking on behalf of the project, in favor of the project, is married to a city council member. And not only that, it's not like he's married to the city council member and he runs a little accounting firm. He's married to the city council member. He gets jobs. He makes money through approvals by the city council as a developer. That's just gross on every level. That is gross. And here was this guy, Jim Felter, last night talking down to Olathe residents using his time to say this. And by the way, you'll hear me at the end yell at him because everyone had 3 minutes. 3 minutes to talk. The 3-minute window blows through. And I'm like, all right, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Mark, what do you think? He went over by a minute. He was, of all the people to speak over the 3-minute mark, he by far abused it the most.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was at least a minute, I think.
Did you know that was me yelling back there?
Yes. I knew it was you by your voice. I didn't turn around, but I knew it was you.
Mark was sitting there mid-row. Like, Mark was mid-pew at church kind of a seating. And then I'm in the back with the rebel rousers. Not really, but I wanted an easy, swift exit from this thing anyway. So there were seats available when I got there, but I said, I'll just stand in the back. So I'm standing in the back, and, I start recording this beyond obnoxious commentary by this developer in Olathe, who's also happened to be married to a city council member.
Able to get what they want out of life, but they resist all change at all costs. They want their standard to be the only standard. They will resist and talk down to anyone about the opportunities that come along to help others achieve their goals. Out of fear or ignorance, they use language like, my taxes will go up, my streets will be more busy, crime will go up. Here are the facts. Regardless of whether or not we use economic incentives, your taxes will have to be paid, and they will be higher over time. The naysayers will never...
Let's stop right there. Yeah, no one's sitting here expecting their property taxes to go down, right? The question is, how much do they increase? Wyandotte County has some of the highest property taxes in the entire state of Kansas, despite the fact that no county has been told that these new economic development tools and star bond projects will keep their property taxes in check, or at least not allow them to go up as much as they oftentimes do. Hasn't happened there. It's not about someone coming back, the city council coming back and saying, we're cutting your property taxes 20% this year. No one who's reasonable thinks that's going to happen. But what always goes on is that oftentimes these projects that are driven heavily by incentives end up needing money from the taxpayer to make sure that they're, working properly. Whether it's through road expansion, whether it's through public works projects, whether it's through an increase in law enforcement. And who pays that bill? If you're playing the economic development game, if you're playing the incentive game, then that cost traditionally will fall on the taxpayer. That's what's going on here. And to make it all about, people they don't like change. We know what's best for you. All right, I just don't want any change. Please, that's not what this is about. If you listen to the people speaking last night at the Olathe City Council meeting, that was not at all what this was about. That's not what people were saying, by and large. I mean, yes, it feels like Kansas when you're driving down that stretch of Ridgeview and you see the cows and you see the open land. And, I don't think anybody expected that to be there forever. It was nice while it was there. It's now going to be gone. But to talk down in the way that this individual was, knowing full well what his motivations are, with his wife on the city council and as someone who makes money as a developer by getting projects approved by that same city council, when you have that backstory to what these comments are really about, my, oh my, it totally should change the equation in terms of how we view comments like this from this individual last night in Olathe, Jim Felter.
Provide a catalyst to create any economic growth or expansion opportunities for the next generation of Olathians. There is no magic that will allow the city to operate, or the county or the state, for less money going forward. The question for less taxes or lower taxes should be, what am I prepared to give up? There is a place where a generation ago, good people said, I don't want my taxes to go up. I don't want this in my backyard. It's just across the border in Kansas City, Missouri. Houses are less expensive. Taxes are lower. Infrastructure is in disrepair. Snow removal and roads are bad. Schools are subject at best. Crime is higher. First responders are barely staying above water. Jim, if that's what you want,
time's up.
Don't force that on the rest of us. Thank you.
That was me yelling at him at the end. He was like a minute over his allotted time. So notice what he does there at the end. He somehow says that if you are against this, and if you are against economic development, well, just look at Kansas City. They've got first responder problems. They've got snow removal issues. And that's because they don't give away enough in economic incentives? No, it's because they are incompetent when it comes to how they run their government. It's got nothing to do with whether or not you are incentivizing the Chiefs to build a practice facility at college in Ridgeview. That is as disingenuous an argument as I've heard this entire time, going back not just to last month, but going back to last year when the conversation started. That was Jim Felter commenting last night at the Olathe City Council meeting, a developer who's also married to a sitting council member, who's saying, you know what, you just go across the border to Missouri. They can't remove the snow. They don't have enough first responders. And yeah, they've got less taxes, but you know what? They don't have the quality of life that we have. That was basically his argument last night. And you want to talk about talking down to people, acting like you're the smartest guy in the room. You've got all the answers. Well, you know what? Let's see how your bread is buttered. And then we can really talk about what this is about from your perspective. That was as absurd as anything and anyone who spoke last night.
There were many eye rolls and groans around me during his speech.
Well, come on, man. even if you supported it. Oh. Even if you support the idea, everything that he just said right there was so out of touch and just complete smoke being blown up you know where. Victor, you're on KCMO.
Oh, good afternoon, or rather, good morning. I'd like to thank you and simulcast here on the Victor Morning Show. Jeez, I can't believe that. Anyway, hey, first I'd like to deal with this comment that there's no way going forward that government's going to get smaller. Yeah, there is. Fire some of your administrators and stop giving yourself raises and stop raising taxes on people so you can bloat government. Yeah, government will get smaller and you will have to take less taxes. My greater point is this is right over by where Hunt's Wally World is going to be, over off of Renner and 119th Street, which is where my yard is. Amazon's is right across the street from us. They've got other development going up in the area, other distribution centers going up in the area. Okay, what kind of deals are they cut? They're getting all sorts of taxes coming in from those businesses. They didn't need to give them a deal. They didn't need to give them a tax cut. The farmer or whoever it is that owned the land, they were free to sell, and they did, and they made money off of it. And the businesses came in. They had to do all sorts of infrastructure because the businesses have to pay for the increased infrastructure on the roads and everything else because they're responsible for the wear and tear on the highway. The chiefs aren't going to have to pay for any of that crap. Mm-hmm. Olathe just taking it completely in the shorts, and who's paying for it? The people. I don't live down here, but trust me, up in Platte County, that's what we're dealing with. There is a group of people that want Platte County to be Johnson County North, and that's what we're fighting against. And you people got to stand up, but elections matter. You elected these people. This is what you get.
Thank you, Victor. I appreciate it. You know, I think there might be some buyer's remorse in all this, but we'll see. I mean, to your point, let's be honest. No one shows up to a lot of these local elections. They don't pay attention to them. And then when they take it in the shorts, they're like, wait, who are these people? What are they doing? How is this impacting my day-to-day? All great points.
Who's their husband?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this case, who's their wife or who's their husband? No, to your point, who's their husband, I guess, is really how you'd frame it. I'm getting confused. Well, speaking of Kid Rock there, John, this is on the text line. Get a sign and go stand on the street corner. I'm sick of hearing about the Chiefs, and Kid Rock's better than Springsteen. Just because you got a mic doesn't mean you're right. Okay, pump the brakes here. Here's the beauty of what we do. I open the microphone. I have an opinion. Try to back it up with facts. I do this 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week. And unlike any other medium, television, newspaper, blogs, podcasts, YouTube, you can call me up right now and you can tell me why I'm wrong. That's the beauty of this. None of it's scripted. I mean, listen, I know what I want to talk about. I know where I'm going with the conversation. But in terms of you calling in and telling me right now how wrong I am, what a fool you think I am, and the why behind it, there is not another platform in media where you can do that right now. I come here, I open up a microphone, I have an opinion on the news happening in Kansas City today. That's it. That's what we do. And if you don't like it, you have the ability right now to tell me why. That's what makes this great. I will not be standing on the street corner. And you know what? The Kid Rock Springsteen thing, once again, it's just my opinion. If you love Kid Rock, that's great. I love Bruce's music. I think his politics are whacked. But you know what? I separate the guy from his politics. I like Kid Rock's politics. I think his music stinks. It's what makes the world go round. I don't know what to tell you there. But the text line is getting a little nutty right now. On both sides, by the way.
Well, you notice they don't use the phones. I mean, we're actually what you kids call interactive.
Yeah,
here,
let's go.
You know?
Let's go.
Dial the digits.
I'll read a nice text to balance out the not-so-nice text. Does that sound good? All right. Here's a nice text. Although this texter has an idea for me that I am not going to take them up on. What do we have here? Pete, I was skeptical of your concerns for Kansas City when I first tuned in many years ago to the show. And I stand firm that Springsteen is always blown. But you're doing such a great job covering the local politics. I appreciate it. Mundo for Mayor, KCMO 2026. Yeah. Thanks for volunteering me to do that, but it ain't going to happen. Okay? It's not going to happen. That's very nice of you.
Such a nice man.
But I'm going to pass on that opportunity. Okay, John?
You can't be a guest on your own show. So,
well,
if you were running for office, we'd have to send you out to pasture.
That's true. That's a great point. Last night, I posted a big recap of all this on my Facebook page, Pete Mundo on KCMO. I was down there at the Olathe City Council meeting. Mark was there as well, tweeting and posting on the KCMO Talk Radio X page and Facebook page. This came from Adam on my Facebook page. If Pete was in charge, both the Chiefs and the Royals would leave the Kansas City area. And I just wrote back, Adam, you got me, man. I always thought the Bismarck Chiefs had a nice ring to it, you know? You got me. Just so you know, like, I know there's always people who speak out against certain deals and whatnot, and some of them sometimes I think are a little too black and white in how they approach it. I am a diehard sports fan. I have been to multiple Chiefs playoff games in recent years since we got here, whatever it's been, 8-9 years ago now. I started my career in sports. I love sports. I have a side business that is exclusively tied to sports. When I started my career, I wanted to do exclusively sports talk. I love sports. This is not me being like a guy who doesn't care about the old football game and what's that game with the ball and they throw it around the field? Like, no, I love it. That's not what any of this is about. You can love the Chiefs. As many people at the Olathe City Council meeting said last night, they love the Chiefs. They root every Sunday for the Chiefs. But that's not the conversation today. It's not a sports conversation. For those of you who say, this is a sports, it's not a sports conversation. It is a political conversation. It is a local political conversation. It's a news conversation masked as sports. It is a tax conversation. It is a money conversation. It is an incentives conversation. That's what all of this is. That's what the backbone of it is. And that's why this matters. That's why it's something that is getting so much attention. If you think it's sports, I'm just being honest. You're not paying attention to this. Okay? You're not.